tabs so you can get outtakes and the replay buffer. You see, like, there's just things that you have to like write down after every time, and then you just check it before, when, if you can, like, if you're not just like completely like overthrown by like just the process of streaming or creating. Try and make lists. It helps. So it's like right now for this, I have camera, check audio levels, mixer, OBS, meters, RME. I don't know what the meters, I think the meters are okay. It's like minus 12. Check exposure, record tracks, exposure for the camera, because one time I exposed it like 5 stops over and it was just like, okay, record tracks. We're not recording tracks, but we got this. We're fine. Recording DVR? Yes. See, that's one of them. And I forgot it. Recording audio? Yes. Guitar volume knob. Well, my guitar's off and I'm not going to play it today. Recording Ableton tracks. I'm not in Ableton. Limit vocal reps. Oh, for looping. Yeah. Because when I loop, I have like, sometimes I like let the vocals go on for too long. And it's like, I have that there. Default repetition numbers. That's an idea for like a Max plugin or something. So it's like, this is how I started to document my process of like growing and like pushing against that creative wall, just trying to like create new neural pathways connected to my creation tools so that I could just make whatever I want. Anytime I want. That looped, by the way. You can't hear it in here because there's still another step to this whole thing. I need to have like a secondary computer to stream. Then I can get this output as well. But it did a loop thing and it was pretty cool. So that's kind of like, that was the album. And then I like went outside and was perceived and was perceiving, and I was like sensationing. And while I did all this, I was also going to therapy. My therapist was like walking me through a lot of body sensations. We did some EMDR, and she would like tell me about, she's like, what kind of feeling is in your body? Can you describe it? Or like, what do you see? And it's like, it really speaks to me because I see things very visually. Like, I'm a visual thinker. If I'm looking at like data, I see it in like 3D space or like multi-dimensional space. And like, that's like my way of thinking. So it really works for me, that EMDR stuff. And you're like imagining all this weird shit. But the point is that you're naming it. You're like connecting it to something, right? It's not just a vivid image, or like you're connecting it to a thing and you're just like creating a space for it, I guess, just to like kind of live. And I don't know what the double EMDR like left-right thing is about. I think it's just your brain stores data. When you look at people and you're telling them something complex, their eyes will move around a lot, right? Because they're trying to create a visual landscape of that thing, I think. I don't know. I don't know anything. I didn't go to school or anything like that. So if you are an academic and you know about this stuff, please chime in. Let me know what that is called when people's eyes move around like that. So anyways, where was I? So the sensation thing is like kind of like where I want to end this particular thread of thoughts on. But needless to say, I got this place about a year ago, just under a year ago. And I was like, I live right by the river, so I could just walk outside and walk down the river when it's not freezing out like it is right now. But if you walk down the river, just take a walk and just tune into like the moment where you feel like you're being perceived. Okay. One of my friends, he said, It was like a force. And it's interesting he puts it that way. We all feel it differently. So like my explanation of this, it's not going to be your explanation because all of our brains are wired completely different. Okay? Like how if we say like picture a cat, we've pictured entirely different things. Like completely. We might have said like white cat or something, right? Like we might connect on some base level, but the vision that we put into our heads, that we like paint out in our brains, that is completely different. So it's the same with like when you have a sensation, it's gonna feel like something different to everyone. Might be in the general space or whatever, but it might be like it's a different shape, right? It's a different shape, dude. So so I would go outside and I would like just focus on where my body was becoming activated. And one of the ones was it almost chimes in like a voice, and it comes from like imposter syndrome. When I grew up, I grew up in poverty and like my mom had 5 kids raised by herself. And it's not easy. It's not an easy programming to decouple from. And I don't know if I ever will, but I know where it exists in my body now. And it's like I can just acknowledge that part when it chimes up. I'm not being driven by it, you know what I mean? It's like it is just one facet of me that is activated, becomes aware, becomes ready to survive, right? And that survival trait is important. It was important to you when you were a kid, and it becomes this muscle that's just overgrown, and it's just like ready, and it's powerful, and it can save you, and it probably has. But it's like, as a result of all these years of being just working out that muscle all the time, now it's ready and it responds to everything first because it's the strongest, right? So the response, like the impulse of the muscle and the carrying out of what the muscle wants you to do is the carrying out is what will grow the muscle. But if you can just recognize that feeling of activation, like the feeling before I lift my arm up, right? It's like, it's a thing. I don't know. You gotta like really focus. It's like you got the muscles moving, but then there's the intent of moving it. And it's like just a really subtle thing. You can see it's everywhere in your body too. It's like in every part of you. So that's one of the facets that I like discovered. And it took a lot of exposure, like just pushing on that and like listening, like hearing that voice over and over. You know, you don't belong here, whatever it is. And just somehow just turning towards it and being like, thank you. You know, like, okay, thanks. That's it. And it's like, it might be useful. You might meet some people. All these like survival traits, you're gonna meet people in your life, and it's just gonna be like activated. And you'll be like, okay, why? And you can observe the person in front of you. And actually, I have a different thought I want to close on. I'm just like kind of mapping this out as I go. So that was one of my like more dominant traits, I suppose. There's others too, and I might get into them. I might not. It's like really personal shit. That one I don't mind sharing, just because it's like I said, it's my most dominant trait, imposter syndrome, and it really kicked in for imposter syndrome with the album, with everything, everything I ever make and create and go to a show or like busk. I'm like, I shouldn't be here. Everyone's looking at me because I shouldn't be here. That voice. So I think we've all heard it to some degree. Well, maybe not, but I think we've all heard something talking to us that says you're not good enough. Or maybe it's the opposite. You know, that egoic structure where you're just like putting the power downward. And it's equally as unhealthy, and it's a thing that needs to be healed as well. And the reason that I say this, if you're down here, if you're up here, if you're left, right, whatever it is, whatever overgrown muscle that controls you, it controls every part of you, every part. And it controls how you talk to people. It controls how you react. It controls your art. And that's the fucking saddest part, because you have this gift. You have this gift. And the gift is like this ability to imagine a universe. Yeah. You have this ability to imagine a universe in your head. And that muscle in particular is like the main point of this entire like podcast thing. But that muscle that goes off, and suddenly you have a painting, you have a song, you have a sketch comedy, you have like a story, you have words. That muscle is the one that saved you. Saved you? It's the one that set you apart. It's the one that people that haven't overgrown that muscle, they can't see it. They can't empathize. And it's like, just like how we, with this muscle overgrown, we have trouble empathizing with people that don't, you know what I mean? It's this like core human divider, and I don't think one is better or worse than the other. And I really resist when people have that attitude, because like we're all just here and we have no freaking clue why. So like we shouldn't divide ourselves, because we're all going to the same place. We all come from the same place. We are all like alien to this reality. So like, so dude, what I was saying, I don't know what I was saying. I forget. I do. I will. We'll do it. Okay. I'm trying to distract myself with synthesizer. So like on this journey of like building new neural pathways, discovered like many of these facets of myself that were like guiding my creative process. And that was like, I think that was the hardest thing to come to terms with, was that I had created, not entirely, obviously, but I had created a lot through this like negative egoic structure. I have no idea what these words I'm saying are, but like we have our like creative source, you know, the universe, and it's like, here is a here's a signal. Do something with it. You know? And we're like, what the fuck? Like, what is this song? What is this thing I see in my head? What is, and we're just like curious, and we're like, it's a puzzle. And we're like, I wanna like package this up into reality and like show it to people. So I don't know, maybe people haven't seen it before. Maybe they have. Maybe we could all be like, look at this cool thing, you know? And people will be like, oh, like that's like kind of like this thing. And you're like, oh, cool. Now we're like all buddies. You know, like that's how it should be. That's how like art culture was before capitalism, right? It was just like, look at us connecting on the most fundamental human level. Creativity. We came up with the night. We got the signal from the universe, some idea, and then we took our genetic code, was a function that ran all that and then outputted for me music, for someone else a movie. And it's like, what? It's crazy, right? It's literally crazy. Like it's like psychotic to believe that we could turn it real into reality. But here we are, doing it. And what I'm trying to say is like between, we have like the signal, then we have like us, right? And some of these are jokers. Some of our like DNA even are these joker cards. And they fuck everything up. They're not wild. They are just, they're not right. So we have our actual genetic makeup. And then we got these things. And what they'll do is they'll take the signal and we'll observe the signal through this fucking lens, this fucked up lens that we've grown all of our lives. And then it comes out as not right. The universe doesn't want that, right? The universe doesn't want it to be something else. It's like it wants you to honor that signal and make it as close to what you hear, what you see as possible. And I'm not talking about realism. I'm not talking about fidelity. I'm not talking about like fucking $1 million studios. Music existed before that. Existed before that, okay? So like, fidelity is not important when it comes to creation. We're just lucky we live in this era where we can, like, what? What is this era we live in that I'm like suddenly born into, right? Like, why this one? Why am I here now? Promise I'll learn how to play piano. So like we get this like idea and it comes through, and it's our job as like humans to discard these ones from the deck so that they don't fuck up the signal. And like Andre 3000 called it, like he said, like drugs and alcohol can also do that. And I think as a final step, I agree. As a final step, I completely agree. But sometimes to the detriment of the deck, some of these Jack and Coke might get rid of this just for a bit. You know? But then Jack is no longer useful. So take care with substance. Just, or else you won't have any cards left. It's cheesy as fuck, but it's true. So, sorry. So it's our job to get rid of these, the shitty cards that were fucking given to us. And then we need to work on our deck, you know, make all the muscles bigger, make all the, grow your skills, grow your knowledge of this reality that we were just kind of like here. It's like, here you go. And then we're like, what the fuck is this? And then we slowly find out, you know? And I've been learning as like one of my survival traits was like being smarter than everyone. And that one throughout the years like overgrew a lot of muscles in a good way, in a survival way, in a way that like a hunter would run because that muscle needs to be, you know, used. And I say that as I like watch people running outside. I'm like, I should do that. So I'll get into all the physical stuff later because it's been a journey for me. Yeah. So like, I've learned a lot of stuff over the years, and what I realized is that if you don't get rid of the card that's growing this learning muscle, this like ego muscle, then if you don't realize that being the smartest is not the only survival trait in existence, then you get really fucked up. So you get an overgrown sense of narcissism, and you get very detached. And I think that's where a lot of like psychotic episodes come from, is just this like belief that your survival trait is the only one that matters. Because that's all it is. It's like just a survival trait. So you have to like check that muscle, throw away that fucking card, and just it takes a lot of acceptance of you and like of you getting over yourself and like just appreciating everybody's journey. And so over the years I've like learned a lot of stuff, and I think that's the key as well, is to like, I mean, I like learning, so that's my key. Again, it's just coming out that way. So muscle memory is what I call that when it comes out like that. My path was based on learning and learning a lot of different stuff, like a lot of different things got me into like being able to connect dots just across a lot of different domains. And I think that's like why I am an artist as well. It's like, and I was an artist before did all this learning, but like just the leap of logic between things, right? People will like a lot of people won't see your they won't see the dots. They won't see the dots that you see, and you're just like, look. So drawing people the pathway between the dots is like a very good skill to have for anyone of my type who wants to be able to like, survive and prosper and like and get what you want. So before you throw away all the cards, you're like, I don't know what I want. And there's like a lot of reasons. There's like you are focused on what you need. Because all those survival muscles are going off and you're just like, I need this, right? It's like all need. And as soon as like you like see all those muscles and you're like, okay, just everybody stop and just like relax. We're just gonna take a break. When you get rid of those, did I lose my internet? That's funny. Well, I'll just upload it after. Sorry, let me switch gears. I was that's a muscle that I'm really trying to get rid of as well. The performing and I've been pushing on this one forever. So it's like performing without people, but for them. It's one that I've been like really working on when I do my shows, and it's like just being able to create in front of people is like if all your muscles are firing off, saying this person is thinking this, the blah blah, you know, how are you gonna create? How are you possibly gonna like come up with anything? So you have to push against that, and you have to grow the creation muscle, and also recognize these ones. And you're just like, everybody just relax, and then you can create in front of people, and you don't think, oh, what chord is this? You're just kind of like thinking, feeling, you know? Because music is just feeling. It's not notes, it's not bars, it's not counts. It is a feeling. And we put this grid up and we say, this grid is music. But the grid isn't music. The grid is an approximation. It's an approximate measure of music. You know? It's like math. We just try and put like grid lines on reality. And we're like, that's how long an atom is. Yep. Now we know what reality is. But an atom's just like all fucking crazy, right? So anyways, we'll get into atoms today. I don't really know much about them anyways, so It's probably for the best. I don't want to get like rioters, picketers. You talked about math, and you don't know anything about math. What was I talking about? Talk about the muscles and creating. So, yeah, you're like, your duty as an artist is to like get the signal, use your skills to create something. Whatever skills you have, whatever tools you have. Maybe all you have is a couple rocks. You know, what do the first people do? First people are just like, is that music? It's 2 drumsticks. That's all it is. So it could be 2 rocks, and they're just doing that rhythm. And that feeling that comes with that rhythm, that's music. Doesn't matter how many instruments there are, doesn't matter how many layers there are. Anyways, that's another episode where I need to rage about that for a little while. You get off my chest. I don't think it's a card. I don't think it's like one of these cards. I don't think it's Joker, but I think it's like a overgrown muscle, and it is indulgent, but I need to do it. Maybe by then I'll be able to control that energy a little better. But yeah, so I've been like focusing on my body, on like where things appear in my body. And with that became like this realization that music was like movement. And I'm like, you hear stuff like this all the time, right? The thing about those phrases is that you don't feel it in your body. You haven't like you haven't sat there in it. Because you're like too busy in your head. You're like thinking, oh, it's a 4/4, and it's like, you know, D minor. Well, you know, like that's not the music. That's not what it is. That's the grid lines over the music. But the music is like, you're just like, and everybody feels that. Everybody in the world will feel this like, I can't talk and play at the same time. Everybody in the world feels that. Some, Elijah, some found a way to get in their heads about it. And now this is it's a sequence of numbers. You're focused on the grid lines, not the movement. So what am I trying to say? Oh, that's good. So, yeah, with that last year, I got this place and I was like doing some looping stuff, and I was like, I feel these like motions when I'm making my music, you know? And I'm like, what is that? So I just dove in. I'm like, what is trying to come out when I'm moving like this? So I came up with like that mood song and Don't You Want Me Baby, and like all these things where I'm just like feeling it while I make it. And it's like, once I realized that, I was just like I love looping, okay? But in songs, I'm like, why are we trying to like make this perfect to a grid? Right? The grid, like this doesn't fit on a grid, right? Like it doesn't fit perfectly on a grid. It never will. And people will make up exceptions and rules, and they'll be like, look at it. It does fit. It fits to this grid. And they'll like just hold on for fucking dear life to that. They'll be like, look, it does. But then they're up here while everyone else is like moving. They're just like, look at the grid. It's like a fucking grid. Oh. Right? We know. We know, Elijah. Stop assaulting you with this. It was a realization for me, and it's new, and it hurts that it took me so long to like get it. And that was another piece that I had like been fighting, was this, you should have known this earlier. It's, it's too late for you, all that. Like that's a substructure, so to speak. I'm putting grids on my own journey just to explain this shit. So that was like something above it, like, oh, you're too old, blah, blah, blah. But like below that was like, you're a child in this old body. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You can't dance. You're old. Like, that's this deep core thing. And then it's like, you're gonna die before you get a chance to fully enjoy it, to fully enjoy your body. So there's a lot of grieving this year, a lot of fucking grieving. And it's been a focus on things that I can do and am able to do, and whether or not it becomes something that fits on the grid and generates me income, that's another story, because I can't do music for that. I have to be closer to the source. He said the name. He said the name of the podcast. Guys. So I'm trying to get all the tropes out of the way in the first thing, because this podcast is also not about being on the grid. It's about using the grid to explain the fucking the thing. Right? So anyways, I said I had an ending to this, and the whole not streaming thing threw me off. It shouldn't, because nobody watches my live streams anyways. And I'm not saying that as a complaining. I don't promote them. I've been doing them solely for me to exercise this muscle and to just like be here for posture, smile. This is a show. That's the muscle I'm working on right now. Performance mode, where this is a show, and all these things over top of my reactions and all this stuff that like gets in the way of me just like performing. That's what this era is about. So yeah, I've built all these like neural pathways over the last 2 years, and it's just crazy. I've like I feel like I don't remember anything from my life. Like I feel like I literally have no memory. As I threw away a lot of like old things I started hanging on to, I started to realize like all my memories were just me clinging to shit that like holds me back and makes me sad. It's like, those are my memories. Those are my like that's fucked up. It's a fucking trip, bro. It's a fucking trip. So I have been experimenting with cannabis and the occasional bottle of wine, just to check in with that guy. There's not really much for him to say. I left that guy in like 19, I think. But there have been a lot of like different terpenes that bring out, that like activate different parts of my body, you know? Something will make me very aware of my like posture, of my like physical balance, right? Just being able to be still and strong. It's like, so I've been using that, and the things that have come up that my mind has fabricated over top of these feelings of like, when I'm stretching my chest, I get like a pain in my chest, and then stories come out. Stories that my mind makes up, and I have been trying to just like be still, watching those stories, letting them go, and I do. It's all very new though, and it's like a new neural pathway. That pathway, that muscle, that's like where you stand still when that thing is trying to move you. That's the muscle, that balance muscle. When it's like everything's all crazy and you're just like balance, that's the muscle you need to grow, whatever that is. Whenever something comes up and you get activated and you want to go, and you want to just like get it, do it, protect it, stop it, yell at it, fight it, hide from it, whatever that instinct is that is about to activate your entire body and make you whatever it makes you. Standing still against that force is the muscle you need to build. And you find it in your body too. Well, at least I did. And that's like why I say, that's why I talk about having like the people that are like creative, quote unquote, and the people that are not creative, quote unquote. Or you have people who are hyper aware and people who are not aware. You have thinkers and you have not thinkers. And you have all the words that you put to both sides of these. And none of them are right. Because everyone got made. Everyone got handed a randomized deck of cards, and they're just like, okay, where are the rules? Where are the instructions? Instead of just playing, you know? Started to like hand jokers out to random people. So, get the jokers out of your deck. Watch for those overgrown muscles. Try and build those ones that you've never used in your entire life. Because overgrown muscle protected you from that. Kept you safe from it. Kept you safe from whatever it was. Look out for those muscle activations and just recognize them and thank them. There's a lot of, this year was a lot of isolation for me, just on purpose, to tune into these feelings. It was a very, very hyper-focal moment in my life where I tuned in to every feeling. I did you get home, you find a place that you can live, you get home, you let your energy just come out, drain it all out. And then you go out and you do one specific thing a lot, over and over. One specific thing. Boom. Grow that awareness, that muscle. Come back, drain. If you see something else that's activating something else that you're not focused on, go home, drain. Tea break, tolerance break, fasting, just maybe deprivation, whatever it is that cleans out the very bottom of the tank. Then you go back out and you keep growing that muscle. Because it's our duty to do it as creators. We need to get rid of the shit in our lives that clogs up the fucking signal that we get from the literal universe and make the thing that we're meant to make.